What is up, everybody? Welcome to TerrorCrave, where we discuss anything and everything that has to deal with horror and scary things. I am Jason, and with me, as always, this is Lee. How's it going today, Lee?
It's going great, my friend. How about you?
I'm good, man. Nice hot day here in Virginia. I can tell you that, man.
Man, it is crazy outside. For everyone who was hoping for the terrible, the cold to be gone. I used to see those memes and be like, be careful what you wish for. And man, you step outside right now and you just melt. It is crazy hot.
Well,
Out.
I'm one of those people that complains of how hot it is and can't wait till it gets cold. And then when it's cold, I complain about how cold it is and can't wait till it gets warmer. And
You're just never happy. You're just never happy.
It can't satisfy me, man. I cannot be satisfied with the weather.
There's no happy medium for you.
No. Well, I'm happy about one thing. We're going to go over a movie that just released this past weekend, The Conjuring 3.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to get into it. As you guys know, and if you've listened to the shows before, I'm a huge fan of the Conjuring films, much to Jason's chagrin. They usually make a lot of my top 5 lists.
yeah.
So I was really excited about this movie, and I was counting down the days, and yeah, movie's here, and we are about to dive into it.
I really do believe there's been at least one movie in that franchise on your list when we do the top 5 every time. I really believe, even though you probably even threw it in with the vampire top 5 when we did that. I don't even know how you would have done that, but the werewolves
I found a way. Yeah, I found a way. No, I mean, dude, these movies came out. I was already a fan of James Wan's, who directed the first 2. He directed the Insidious films. I also thought those were very scary. I mean, they were some of the scariest films. Yes, I'll go into it again. Some of the scariest films I've seen over the past few years. So yeah, I was really excited about part 3. I was a little wary going into it, knowing that James Wan was not directing it. I think the Aquaman responsibilities are pulled him away from this. Again, he did a fantastic job in Aquaman as well. So I'm glad he's part of part 2. But this one was directed by the guy who directed the other spinoff. There's been multiple spinoffs from this film, or from the Conjuring universe, which is what I love about it as well. It's made their stamp here in horror. Many spinoffs from the Conjuring. Between that, we had Annabelle. The Conjuring 2, then they had The Nun. We've had Annabelle's had her own trilogy already.
La Lorna. That's
who. La Lorna.
Yep. Which I hear a lot of people are saying that didn't have anything to do with this universe now.
Well, but, no.
I know it did, but a lot of people are arguing that didn't have anything, but it did. It was connected. And I will say right off the bat that, I'm a paranormal investigator. And I love the Warrens. I've always loved the Warrens. If you go into this movie thinking it's going to be a documentary about their cases, their investigations, then you're just going to be disappointed, because Hollywood got its hands on it, and they did what they had to do to make this an enjoyable, scary movie.
Yeah.
And you really, if you want to know the true history behind their cases, look them up on YouTube and find the actual investigation files from the Warrens. You're just not going to be, you'll sit there and say, that's not true. This didn't happen. That didn't happen. Well, it's a movie. You have to take this kind of with a grain of salt, I guess you would say. Right. You really do.
It's embellished, right? I mean, they make it, maybe take the scenes, make them a tiny bit more scary than they were, perhaps. Who knows,
Yeah.
And remove certain characters, add certain characters, whatever is going to make the story better. Is how they look at it. I don't know if you said the director's name, but Michael Chavez is the director of this one, and who directed, as you said, the La Lorna movies. But no, what did you think, Jason? I mean, you being the paranormal investigator, and you also, let's set the record straight here, you were a fan of the previous 2 films, correct?
Yes, I've liked the whole franchise, and like I say, I'm a paranormal investigator, and some of them I knew they weren't following what happened with the investigations, the real life investigations. The Warrens weren't involved in a lot of what happened in the previous movies. And Conjuring 2, they had very little to do with that one. But the thing is, you have to throw that out the way. To me, they just immortalized these two people that I truly do respect in the paranormal field, Ed and Lorraine Warren. They really did. They immortalized them by putting them as characters now in a movie. And even though it is fictional for the most part, it's one of those things that we've talked about previously on episodes, based on and inspired by. And these, to me, now they do say based on, but to me, they should say more of inspired by the true events of the investigations of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And maybe people would be a little more happy about it. But I can tell you, I liked this movie. To me, Conjuring 3 was the best out of this whole series, man. And maybe it's because I thought it was scarier than the other ones. I really did, man. From the beginning to the end, I thought it was scarier.
Wow. Okay. That says a lot. All right.
It may show up on one of my top 5 lists.
Well. We have reached the end of days. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, all right. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. My initial reaction, to be honest with you, I thought it was a good movie. I did. I go to see the Conjuring movies to be scared and to be terrified. I didn't think it was very scary at all.
You didn't think it was scary?
I didn't think it was very scary at all. I think the opening scene, if they had kept up with that intensity, that to me was scary. I was like, oh, I mean, I felt like I was watching it gave me the same feels that I had from the other Conjuring films.
Yeah.
Then it just kind of like, and it turned into, as I was watching it, it reminded me, it was a good crime thriller.
Mm-hmm.
That had supernatural elements. So that's how I took it as. So again, did I think it was a good movie? Yes, I did. Did I enjoy it? Yes. But was I scared during it? Not really, except for the first 10 minutes or so. That's
I like the demonic stuff in investigations, which I can say that I've never run into anything that I would consider a demon on my investigations. But I like the idea of there was somebody controlling what was happening to them, and it was also kind of controlling what was happening to the Warrens at the same time. And to that, if you believe in God, you believe in good, that you have to believe in evil, you have to believe in the devil. Mm-hmm. You can't have good without evil. You can't have God without Satan. And if there's a group of people out there that are worshiping Satan and they're doing all of this stuff, these mystical ritual things going on, then to me, I liked that. I thought that was pretty good. I liked how they brought that into it. They gave it more, but it's not just this demon or this entity that is taking charge or taking over these people. It's a person controlling, a person is controlling what's happening here.
Right. No, I will say you're right. It takes a whole different way into this. It's not based on a haunted house. You know what I mean? Like the other 2 previous films had been. It definitely wasn't that. It didn't have that. And I liked the whole different thing. I'm glad they just keep doing different haunted houses. So I can respect the fact that they try to take a different angle to it. You know what I mean? And come at it in this way with the person. That's almost a person conjuring up the demon, but I mean, no pun intended. But that's what they were doing, right? Bringing the demon up and then sticking him on people. But I will say, again, I've already said I didn't think it was that scary. I love the crime thriller aspect of it. I think that Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, they embody those characters.
Yeah.
This is the character development with these 3 these 2 characters throughout these 3 films, and really 4 films if you count Annabelle Part 3, Coming Home or what have you. That was, I think the character development's been fantastic for a horror film, for a genre film, so you care about these characters. So did I care about the characters still? I did, you know what I mean? So I think, again, I don't want it to be confused to say I didn't think it was a good movie. I thought it was a good movie, but it lacked that horror punch for me. Now I'll tell you what, though, like I said, those first 10 minutes, man, I was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? With the trying to, the possession of the little boy. And of course, anytime you see a kid in a horror film, that really cares at me, you know what I mean? And this poor little kid was having a rough time, man.
I tried so hard to get my wife to watch this with me, and I mentioned it to you before that I got her to watch. She's not a horror fan at all, by any means, but she doesn't even come in my office because she doesn't like. But I got her to watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose years ago when that first came out, and that was it for her. No more, like that was the one. She probably watched like Friday the 13th, stuff like that when younger, but The Exorcism of Emily Rose did it for her. And all I could think of is I was trying to talk her into watching The Conjuring, and I was like, oh, it's not going to be scary, it's not going to be bad. And then the kid is contorting it, and
Yes.
you know what I mean? And I was like, oh yeah, she would have been just mad at me. That would have been bad. But what another thing that I liked about this one is the Warrens were older in this one. This one takes place in 81, I believe.
Yeah.
And they looked more like what I think of when I think of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because they were older when I first started, noticing them.
Mm-hmm.
And even she did her hair more like Lorraine Warren, you know what I mean? In the first couple of Conjurings, she was, I don't want to say anything bad, especially about Lorraine Warren, but she was just too pretty.
Right.
And of all the people to talk bad about, I don't want to say anything bad about Lorraine Warren. But
tread carefully, my friend.
Yeah. But I really think that this one, they looked more like Ed and Lorraine. Ed had health issues, really bad, heart issues, and just I like that. This one showed more of that. It kind of was the start of his health issues.
Mm-hmm.
But it still showed their bond, their love for each other, and that was a true thing in real life too. So I really think that if you watch the movie, you have to watch it with a grain of salt. Don't think it's going to be a documentary about the case. But I enjoyed it, man. I thought it was a good, when I say scary, it wasn't like a bunch of jump scares. I just thought it was a good demonic, scary movie.
Right. No, and I hear you. I do. Again, I kind of commented on already about the character portrayals of them, right? And unlike you, I don't know a lot about the Warrens, but this is the love story that's told throughout these three films, because it shows their bond and how much they love each other and all of that, and between between with their little girl, which I was glad we got to see her for a little hot second there in the very beginning. And
their camera guy too, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm glad that they keep bringing him back too.
Kind of have some type of continuing on with the characters and all of that. So that was good. But I think they do a good job with that. And that's what makes you like these movies more than just a normal horror film, I think, is because of the characters that you've kind of grown to love, so to speak, between Ed and Lorraine. And I don't know if you'd be able to say that if they were in such capable hands of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. I mean, really,
they do a great job.
They really do, and all of that. And it's kind of cool for this movie. Going into it a little bit, though, I will say that even though I thought it was a good movie, I didn't understand, and maybe it's just me, and maybe you can explain it to me now, Jason, what the victims had in common. What was all that about? Like, what was that I didn't really grasp?
Okay, so this kind of tied in Annabelle with this movie, because the priest that they went to see, he had spent a lot of time with this cult, trying to see what happens with, which is the cult that the woman who possessed Annabelle joined when she left home.
I missed that. So that cult, was that spelled out in the film?
It was the whatever of the ram or whatever. And if you go back to Annabelle, the I think it was the third one, that's when they talk about the cult that the couple's daughter left home with somebody and they went and joined this cult. Well, that was the cult they joined. So it tied it all back in together. And I kind of liked how they, they tied this back in with Annabelle.
Well, then, all right. Then I give them another extra prop on that because I somehow missed that aspect of the film. But what about the victims, though? I think is what I was coming at. Oh, and I have to say this real quick. You mentioned the priest. John Noble played him. John Noble is, for fans of genre, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the show called Fringe. It was a great show that ran 5 years, I think, on Fox a few years ago. But he was a main character on that. John Noble is a fantastic actor. I'll watch him in anything. So I love the fact that he was in this Conjuring 3 film. He's a great actor, so it was cool to see him. But wasn't that his daughter?
Yes.
Yeah, that was his daughter.
He actually, well, he was a priest when she was born, and that was a big no-no. And he kind of kept her secret the whole time. And she grew, while he was researching this cult, she actually started getting into the cult, like she took a fascination to all of these objects he was bringing home. And that's how she turned and went to this cult. And, that's why he ended up, he wasn't a priest anymore.
Right.
Because they found out he had a daughter and, all this, but he wouldn't, he knew she was down there. Come on, man. You can't hear that woman down underneath your house. Come on.
Yeah, he knew she was down there the whole time. But and I think Cindy, my wife, I watched it with Cindy, and she was a little confused because she was like, how did she thought that this was a spirit the whole time that was conjuring or bringing this. I was like, no, because that was a human. She was alive.
Yeah.
She was down there at the table, at the altar, I should say, not the table, at the altar there. You know what I mean? Doing all of that stuff. And then she was like, how did she slit that guy's throat? I was like, because she's a human being.
Yeah, she was real. She
was real. I was like, don't you remember when at the very end he was like, you owe the devil a soul. You know what I mean? So so that's why he took her. You know what I mean? Basically twisted her neck around, and then whatever she was done.
Yeah,
but
it was supposed to be a killer, a suicide, and I think an older person or something like that. And that's where it was going to come into the guy killed somebody. He was going to commit suicide, and then Ed was going to be the final victim.
What about those girls though?
See, it failed with them. It was supposed to,
because
she killed somebody, she committed suicide, and then there was supposed to be a third person, and it didn't happen. So the woman, I don't know, I guess the demon gave her a second chance. I don't know. You just made my points go down on it because yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I was kind of confused about. I was like, what did those girls have to do? You know what I mean? I don't know. It was just, it didn't. And usually I'm pretty good at picking up on things, but that was at a loss for that because, Cindy looks to me for the answers. I didn't have them for her this one. I was like, I don't really know.
well, maybe like she's making the deal with the devil and she's like, yeah, all right, but how about I'll give you two chances just in case the first one doesn't pan out. Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah. No, another, so I mean, okay, again, there were some creepy scenes 100% in this film. Like I said, I can't say enough about the opening scene. I thought that was terrifying.
Yeah. What about the guy in the morgue?
Oh, the
cadaver that gets up.
Yes. Yeah. That was also pretty crazy, man. And then
I mean, he reminded me of the guy, the woman, it was a guy that played her, but it was the woman that they wheeled in Dawn of the Dead. You remember that? That's who it reminded me. I was like, oh. Yeah. No, that was freaky.
That was freaky, man. That was good. I thought the water bed scene was reminiscent of another horror film for Freddy's. I think it was a fourth one. Not Dream Warriors, but the very beginning of Dream. What was it? Dream Master.
Was that Dream Master
after Dream Wars? The scene, the boy who wasn't talking in the third one, he's got that girl in the waterbed, and that's how he died. So I thought that was kind of reminiscent of that. You know what I mean? With the thing in the waterbed for the little boy.
I think they gave a tip of a hat too to The Exorcist when the priest first arrives at the house. I mean, how awesome! From that point right there, when that happened, I was like, "Oh, I like that, man," because me, and The Exorcist. I love that movie. And when they pulled up and he's just standing outside of the house, and there's like a little bit of a mist, I was like, oh man, that's a great tip of the hat to The Exorcist.
Total tip of the hat. I agree 100%. I was going to say that next. There was a cool little couple shout outs, definitely with The Nightmare and then The Exorcist on that as well.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I also love how they also, I mean, there's also always a little bit of comedy, I think, in these films, which I love also. And in this particular one, there was a couple times, well, the one stood out to me was they're talking to the lawyer, And the lawyers, they're like, why don't you come over to the house for dinner? We'll introduce you to Annabelle. And then the next scene, she's already saying this is not going to happen. This is not going to go on a court. And then he says, "Zach, come over to the house, introduce you to Annabelle." Very next scene, she's in the courtroom, looks shook.
Yeah,
she looks shook, and then she says, "We're saying not guilty or whatever it was to demonic possession."
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
what? So
I wish they had shown that scene. I would have loved to have seen like, more of that. Maybe a director's cut will come one day and we'll get to see like how they introduced her to Annabelle. Because I really would like to see how they, I don't know. I think that if you go to see her in their museum, it's just something sitting there, a creepy looking doll that all this stuff about. But yeah, that would have been cool.
I also love how they also, obviously they give Annabelle a shout out, but they also let you know about the other movies. I mean, they frame the shots. You see the nun picture in the background in a certain scene. I think when he's maybe going to maybe it was at the very end when he was going into not the trophy room, but the room where they keep all of the
I call it the trophy room.
Okay, the trophy room.
That's a good name.
There you go.
Yeah.
The trophy room where they put it there, and you get the nun is obviously framed perfectly in the background there.
Yeah.
So and there was the rumor was that this movie was going to have an end credits scene, which was going to tip the hand and show us what was going to lead into a fourth film. But at the last minute, they decided to take it out. But speaking of the credits, as I brought up, I actually had to turn the movie off, Jason. When they actually, for you guys who don't know, if you want to watch it, and if you guys are into this, you'll probably will want to see it. End credits have real live interviews, which I think the others two did as well.
Yeah. See, I like that. I like that.
I know you love that, but when the chanting was going on, the real chants on the recorder, I was like, I can't have this playing at my house.
I loved it, man. Yeah, during the real exorcism.
They played actual footage, or not actual footage from the exorcism, but recordings from the exorcism.
Yeah. Now I know like halfway through that, my dog started like levitating a little bit, but no.
And you just kept powering through. You're like, I'm gonna
yeah. So fright or flight?
I can't give it a flight because I thought it was a good movie. So but my reservations are, again, and I'm wholly holding it up to the first two Conjuring films. For a good regular horror movie, I think it's probably that. To me, it didn't reach nearly the scare level of the first two. But again, I thought it was a well-made movie. To me, it was more of a crime thriller. This one was, which again is cool. I like that you're exploring different aspects of it. Just make it a little scarier, and you would have gotten, I would have been able to give it right up there with the first two. But I will say, I'm gonna give it fright.
Okay, I say fright all the way, man. Full on fright. If you're a paranormal
FOF
fan, FOF. If you're a paranormal fan, if you like Ed and Lorraine Warren, if you're a fan of the series anyway, you gotta watch it, man. Just because it's, take it with a grain of salt. I can't say that enough, but enjoy the movie. Know that Hollywood got their hands on this true event, and they did their spin on it, and I thought it was good. And I like dark, the dark, the demon, the possession. I like the dark stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, full on fright, FOF. I like that.
Would you be satisfied if this put the cap on the bottle for the Warrens?
No, not at all. I'm still a little bit ticked that they didn't do an Amityville Conjuring yet, and I know they didn't have hardly anything to do with the Amityville house, but they also didn't have much to do with the one that took place in England. So give me that spin, make me a dark Amityville horror movie with the Warrens involved in it. Make it darker, make it last longer, whatever you have to do. To me, they just put them up. The Warrens are now like these characters in a movie. So make those characters go around to more true event stuff, even if they didn't have anything to do with it. Make stuff up now. It's Hollywood. Come on.
I agree. I think that would, if they could totally create a whole story. I do think part of the appeal of these films though is the inspired by or based on stuff.
Yeah, they got to get rid of that.
Characters, but I think that these characters now have grown enough and stand on their own without having to have that. You know what I mean? I think that they've bought enough of the audience's goodwill to continue on in stories. My only caveat would be, I would love to see James Wan come back and direct it. And nothing against Michael Chavez, because I thought Lorna was a good movie. I actually was pretty Sounds crazy. I was actually pretty scared of that movie too. You know, I mean, it was scary, but I just I don't know. This one was just had a little lacking. I don't know if it was because Juan was not involved as he usually is or what. But if I would like to see him come back.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely don't put the cap on him yet. They do some more. I would rather see something like that than another remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Oh
or
yeah,
Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, something more original. Stop remaking the movies and just, I don't care. Use them as fictional characters now. You
yep.
know, they had Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. You know, did people get pissed about that? Probably. He didn't kill vampires. Like, really? You
He must have
sure?
skipped history class that day. There
Yeah,
was a whole
I
chapter
remember.
devoted to him and Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Oh my god, I can't even say it now.
yeah,
Nosferatu. Yeah,
yeah.
my joke failed.
So, hey, let's have a touch base real quick on Clarence Williams passed away this past week, and you know, great horror icon to me anyway. Was in a lot of good movies, man.
Yeah, he totally was. You know, starting off with the Mod Squad, he went on through, but one of the more ones that stick out to me, the horror films, was Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood, man.
You know, where he played what turned out to be the devil, I guess.
Yeah,
We don't know that the whole film, but I did like that anthology movie. I actually saw that one in the theater years ago. Me and Richard Rutherford.
yeah. Oh, where is he? Yeah, he was
Yeah.
kind of their version of the Crypt Keeper, so
Yeah,
that
he
was
totally
cool.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't think he returned. I think that was one of those films that came out in theaters, and then they had a couple sequels that were. And I never saw any other ones that went straight to video or what have you. But I don't think he was
yeah.
involved in any of those. But no, I think he lived to be 81 years old. Of course, he did a
Good
lot of
life.
other great. Yeah, lived a great life. And was a great actor as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
rest in peace,
yeah.
Clarence Williams.
Rest in peace, man. And one other thing, touch on real quickly. Um, you know, I'm a big fan of his, and I'm a big fan of the old show. But what are your thoughts on Rob Zombie is making a movie, The Munsters?
I am excited to see what he does with that, and I am very curious to know: is it going to be like I don't know? I mean, is he going to revamp the monsters to make it more of a just terrifying horror film, or do you think he's going to keep it in the comedy vein with just more horrific aspects?
I don't know, man. I mean, I
I mean,
think
right?
if
We don't know.
I mean Rob Zombie's Rob Zombie. I think if they were going to go for something like the Addams Family, then they should have pushed that off on Tim Burton.
Which is what Tim Burton's actually doing. He's doing
Yeah,
the he's
yeah,
doing Wednesday.
yeah.
He's actually
Wednesday. That's
responsible for
for
that TV
Netflix,
show.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
very good point if they were going to do that. But do you think Rob is, I mean, yes, Rob Zombie is Rob Zombie, but do you think this is his chance to maybe do something a little different? Maybe,
I
you know what I
hope not.
mean?
I hope not. You know, House of a Thousand Corpses is probably one of my favorite horror movies of all. Well, you can tell.
Right.
But I hope, I don't know, man. I'm conflicted there, I guess, because I like the Munsters, man, and let's keep them,
I
you
did
know,
too.
keep them the Munsters. But I just don't know if Rob Zombie can do that, man. And I like Rob Zombie, like scary stuff.
Right. I don't know if they would give him the monsters if he was going to make this. Oh, who knows? Actually, I can't speak on that. You know, if he was going to do a straight R-rated horror film,
Yeah,
you know, like just straight like what he usually does. Now, I will say, Rob Zombie, as crazy and horrific as his movies are, they also have some great comedy in them with the dialogue at
they
times.
do.
You know,
They do.
the banter is funny, and it really can be. You know, it can be. So he's written. I mean, he wrote all those. The
Yeah,
screenplays are all him. So maybe he can bring a little bit. You know, maybe it will be comedy horror, more of a horror comedy than others have been. I don't know. I will say I'm very excited to see what he does with it.
yeah. And
Now,
he's well, if you, anybody that's been to his concerts, you see all the classic horror monsters
mhm,
on stage, on the screen behind him. He has people coming out dressed as them as the classic ones. And I know he was a Munsters fan.
yeah,
So he may keep it true to the Munsters. And I'd be cool with that too. I really would. But I'd also be cool if he goes on to some kind of thing
twisted it
and
up.
you know, grandpa is out there actually like ripping people's heads off. I'd be down for it, man. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. He is a huge Munsters fan. He's a frequent guest on Stern, and
Hmm.
Stern's a fan of his. I think they're friends, outside of the show.
Yeah.
I think they've, Rob, I think gifted him, Howard, some Munsters memorabilia, because Howard's a big fan of the Munsters as well. So he's talked about his fandom and his love of the Munsters in different interviews throughout the show. So I think that's great. We've got somebody as talented as him with that horror background that
Yeah.
is a huge fan. So I think he'll do it with respect. I have to ask you this question. You brought up the Addams Family. Were you more of an Addams Family guy or a Munsters guy?
Addams Family.
You were?
Yeah, just because when they re-showed that, it was on the TV that I could watch. I mean, I've watched the Munsters too, but they took the classic Monsters and mixed them all up, which did he never wonder why his kid was a werewolf and his wife was a vampire?
Maybe we'll get into that.
Yeah,
maybe it'll be, maybe Herman will have killed.
And then Lily is just a person, a human being.
Yeah, I know.
So, but no, I was always Addams Family because I thought they were a little bit darker, in my opinion, and they were just odd people, and I'm an odd person, so I could relate to the Addams Family. If I could have a house like theirs, I would cut the roses off the stems too.
Yeah. Right.
It's
yeah.
cool.
I will say Morticia was hotter than the Munsters lady.
Yeah.
But no, all that being said, I actually more lean. I watched the Addams Family. I did when it came on, but if I had to choose between a show, I'm watching the Munsters, I think.
Yeah, and I like the old TV show, The Addams Family, and I like the movie that came out.
A couple years ago.
Yeah,
the more recent, or the ones that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s. Yeah.
Did you see the new the animated one that came out like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I watched it. It was fine. My kid liked it and all, but he's a kid. He doesn't know,
Right. Yeah.
When,
I thought I saw that. I took my little girl to see it in the theater. We loved it.
Sure. Yeah, you got to watch it. Like there's the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be coming out soon. You got to watch it just because it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So
yeah, I took my little girl to see that too. She loved it. No,
I knew I liked you, man.
Yes. Serena's not. I'm like, are you ready for this? No, I can't.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Dude, I'm looking forward to that film, and we briefly mentioned Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that as well, actually.
Yeah. That's a series on Netflix, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Tim Burton's his first show that he's leading, so should be.
Yeah.
Man.
Awesome, man. Well, that's a great episode, man. This was a good one, Lee. I liked that we had differing opinions on one of your favorite franchises, and I can't believe I was over top of you on this one. But
yeah. You did. I did. That's why I didn't want to talk about it previously. I wanted to surprise you. I knew.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I just watched it and I was like, wow, this is. Cindy and I turned it off and we're like, I was like, this. I can sleep tonight. This wasn't nearly as terrifying as I was expecting it to be.
Hey, well, I've got a movie to send over to you and you can watch. And which one was it? The one that you haven't seen yet that I can't? Oh, The Exorcist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, watch that tonight and let me know if you can go to sleep afterwards. And
yeah, something tells me I won't be watching that one tonight, my friend.
No.
That'll be at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I'll have all day to get it out of my mind.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, Lee, I appreciate it, man. It's a good episode and can't wait for the next one.
And I enjoyed myself as always, my friend. Guys, please don't forget to hit the like or the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts. If you guys agree with me, which you probably do, let me know what you think of the movie, or if you agree with Jason.
I think they probably would agree with you.
Just let us know your thoughts, guys. We just love the fact that you are enjoying the show. Give us any feedback. Let us know any type of other topics you want us to cover. We'd be happy to do so.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Until next time, Lee.
Later, my friend.
Later.